Mr. Wonka?
I am extraordinarily busy, sir.
I just wanted to ask about the chocolate. The lifetime supply of chocolate for Charlie. When does he get it?
He doesn't.
Why not?
Because he broke the rules.
What rules? We didn't see any rules, did we, Charlie?
Wrong, sir. Wrong. Under Section 37B of the contract signed by him, it states quite clearly that all offers shall become null and void if, and you can read it for yourself in this photostatic copy, I, the undersigned, shall forfeit all rights, privileges, and licenses herein and herein contained, etc., etc., fax mentis incendium gloria culpum, etc., etc., memo bis punitor delicatum. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilized, so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
You're a crook. You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this? Build up a little boy's hopes and then smash all his dreams to pieces. You're an inhuman monster!
I said good day!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts,
Abraham
and Nick.
How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm all right.
Doing all right, man.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy
2020.
New Year, 2024.
Yeah.
That is just wild.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to say.
Time flew by.
For real. Can you believe 4 years ago, in a month, 4 years ago, the world was locked down?
Yeah.
That is almost like I don't even think about it anymore, honestly.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's one of those like stains.
I just don't.
You know, on the underwear of that year where we're kind of like, let's just disregard that.
Yeah, I just don't.
Just throw it in the wash.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about it. I don't want to embarrass anybody. Yeah. It's also crazy to think we've been doing this thing for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
At this point, right?
Going on 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, we started
the last week of
December 2020.
21.
21. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Holy moly.
It's been a ride.
It has been a long...
We've done a lot of movies.
Yeah. Movies I've always wanted to see. Movies I've...
Never thought I'd see.
Yeah, never ever would have imagined to watch.
Movies that made me cry that it didn't make... Jojo Rabbit, I think about that movie so much. That made me...
You see the shoes, you're like...
That movie made me sob for no reason.
Yeah, there's plenty of movies that I've watched on this podcast that I went on to buy because I love them so much.
Yeah, same could be said here.
Yeah. So.
And I think that's one of the beauties of just cinema in general is that, you know, there's so much out there that is just waiting to be discovered.
Yep.
And there's some really good stuff out there, some really bad stuff out there.
Some stinkers.
And, you know, it's all about, sifting through that stuff, but also, you know, loving every little bit of it, right?
Yeah.
Being able to enjoy every side of it. And I've been able to do that with my boys for the past 3 years, which has been a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys for sticking around. But how was your guys' holidays? I want to ask that first.
It was good. They're very calm, low-key.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do much.
The break was very nice.
Yeah.
I needed that. I went back to work for because we were off for Christmas, and then I went back to work for 3 days, and those 3 days I was like, I need another break. Like, already.
Yeah.
It felt like forever just to get to this New Year's holiday, so I needed it.
Nice.
Still do need it, but we're living.
Yeah. I almost am, like, ready to go back to work. And then I'm excited, too, because at my job, we also get Martin Luther King Day off. And that's like January 15th or something.
So
like
you don't
that.
have
You
to
go
work
back
very
to
long.
work for a week, and then you get another 3-day weekend off.
Yeah. So
Here's the thing. The scariest thing about when you work at a place that doesn't give you a lot of holidays like that is like your next one is like what? July?
yeah.
I have like nothing to look forward to. There's just a span of time. It's just work.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I'm like, that's why I also love the end of the years because I can work, but I also know that there's break coming.
Yeah, there's something happening where
And
I'm going
this-
to be able to stop.
Yeah, because what's the next major holiday?
For me, I think it's 4th of July.
Mm.
I think that's the next one I get off. I think.
Dang.
Mm.
Unless I'm missing something.
I don't know.
President's Day? Nah. I don't even remember when those are. 'cause
Easter's
we
on
never even take them.
Easter's
so
on a
it's like,
Sunday, so you won't get Easter off.
nope.
Yeah.
I don't think I do anyways.
Yeah, I don't get Easter off either.
It's a religious holiday.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I remember they took that off. We used to get paid for that day,
mm.
for working that day. Now it's not a paid holiday.
Well, good. I'm glad the holidays were good. Seems like it, at least. I had a good time as well. Just being able to hang out with family and spend a time with people.
You watched a lot of freaking movies.
I did. I did. I was lucky enough to be able to take some vacation time for that, like the last week
You
of the
had
year.
a lot of freaking movies.
And during that entire time, I was able to go to the theater, watch movies at home I haven't been able to watch or hadn't had time to. And
Did you finish the one that
I-
we watched?
yes, I did. I got to watch movies like Videodrome by David Cronenberg, which was one I started watching with Abe, and then we got cut off in the middle of it, and I came back and returned to it, which was great. Gaspar Noé, he's a
Irreversible.
French director, Irreversible. I watched that, and I'll probably never watch that again. Insane freaking
He
movie.
was telling me about it, and then I looked up the stills. I said, "Yeah, I don't think I want to watch this."
Oh, I can't
It's-
imagine.
it was
stills are
insane. It was
dirty.
insane. If you're curious, look on Film Grab because they're there. But yeah, it was a wild movie, that's for sure. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to be able to just kind of hang out and like check off some movies that I've been wanting to watch off my list, and also going to the theater and
I
being able
know.
to see some movies in theaters that I've been wanting to watch as well. It was nice. So.
We
Yeah.
definitely got to talk about the Iron Claw.
Well, I wanted to start it off by saying before we got into it, because we're in the new year, you guys want to talk about some of your favorite films from 2023?
Dude, let me pull up the list.
Here, the thing is, I didn't watch as many movies as I'd want to, especially
Okay.
from the
Yeah.
big name directors.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to before this podcast reach a lot of them, but there's not enough time.
Mm.
I couldn't. I have a list of ones I want to watch, and I do have a lot of favorites.
Okay.
But a lot of them I just missed,
Okay.
which I think is cool because you've seen a lot that I want to see. I've seen some you want to see.
Yep.
I think we've all just have a different palette of movies that we watch that we can kind of cover the vast majority of movies that came out.
Yeah.
I don't think I went to the movies as often as I did last year, though.
Hmm.
I think I went to the movies like 4 or 5 times this year. Like, they're just. I think the best movie that I saw in theaters, these two would probably be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse
Mhm.
and Iron Claw. I think those
Okay.
are my top 2. I can't remember any of the movies that I watched. Like
Mm.
the Batman. No, it came out
No,
this
it
year.
came out last year.
It did.
Yeah.
Like
Well, 2022, I should say. Yeah.
Oh, you never watched Oppenheimer, did you?
I didn't watch
Oh,
Barbie either.
wow.
Mm. Yeah, I could give you like a top 3 here. I have like 4 favorites, but I wanted to go 5, but one of the movies that I was anticipating was going to be one of my favorites. I didn't ever get a chance to see. I'll probably have to see it next week. But
Yeah.
You didn't watch Five Nights at Freddy's?
I did watch Five Nights at Freddy's. It didn't end up on my favorite list. But
Yeah, that's definitely not on my
Um,
list.
if I had to go like top 3, Killers of the Flower Moon,
Fair.
incredible. Loved every second of it, despite its runtime. It was great. Martin Scorsese's a master. Making movies like he's still in his 20s when the guy is 70 plus years old.
Mm-hmm.
Also, The Iron Claw, as well as Abe. That has been a movie that has proved to be one that has stuck in my mind ever since I watched it, and even been one that I've returned to already. Like I took my brothers with me, and I was like, we're gonna watch The Iron Claw together, and we watched the movies about the Von Erich family. They're a very prestigious wrestling family back in the early 80s and late 70s, and that movie's incredible. I loved every second of it. I think Zac Efron deserves an award. He should get more serious roles because he's awesome at what he did there with the Iron Claw. Number 3, I would probably say Oppenheimer as well. I was looking back yesterday because Barbie just hit HBO Max. And
Yeah.
they've been like pushing it hard.
They've been pushing it hard.
And I was kind of looking back at the summertime whenever Oppenheimer and Barbie came out, and I was talking to Alexa, and I was like, isn't it kind of insane that like usually when summer blockbusters come out, they're like, you know, your superhero movies, like, or action films or something like that. And I was like, the big summer blockbusters for this year were a 3-hour long biopic about, and it's like mostly dialogue
Yeah.
about the making of the atomic bomb. That was like one of the huge blockbusters, and it earned like over like $1 billion or something,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah.
And then a movie about Barbie that like took the idea of like what a Barbie is and what it can be,
Flipped it on its head.
and totally flipped it on its head. And Greta Gerwig just like became like a like almost like a household name now. Like now she is going to be directing, I think, some of the Chronicles of Narnia remakes that are going to be happening
Really?
too. Yeah, like it's kind of insane. And I was like, isn't it crazy to think that 2 movies like that were this year's like summer blockbusters? And she was like, yeah, it is kind of wild.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah,
because there wasn't like any major Marvel movies that came out this year besides Across the Spider-Verse.
Well, there was actually a couple stinkers.
Yeah.
I can think of
the Marvels.
The Marvels was.
or
I didn't know. I'm kind of
Ant-Man, Quantumania.
yeah.
all that
I've seen disappointing or top 10 disappointing lists or whatever, and those 2 are almost always on them. So I
Right.
never even bothered to watch them.
Yeah.
But I have 4.
Okay. I'll name my 4th real quick too,
Okay.
and that just being Priscilla.
Oh.
I really enjoyed Priscilla as well. Sofia Coppola, she's a great director as well, and I really enjoyed the different take on the story of Elvis's literal child bride.
Yeah.
Because
I just-
everyone talks about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she was 14 whenever they met," or something like that, and I'm like, she was 14 and Elvis was 25 maybe.
No.
Like that is so strange, and I think the movie really hits that nail on the head and really kind of goes to show you just how much of a child she was.
Yeah.
And I also have to say I think Jacob Elordi played a much better Elvis than Austin Butler did. Like it just proves to me watching that movie that Austin Butler did not to do all that he was doing to portray Elvis
With this
And
voice.
yeah, and I think Jacob Elordi really knocked it out of the park.
Nailed it better.
And like it's not even his movie, you know. But
Fair.
yeah.
I got 2 honorable mentions that I watched recently that I really enjoyed, which was The Holdovers and The Killer. Those 2 were really, really good. They really kept me engaged the entire time.
Those are on my list.
Fantastic movies. I really suggest you watch those. But I narrowed it down to 4, and my 4th is Talk to Me, the A24 horror movie that came out. It came out a long time ago, but it released in the United, or at least in our area.
In the U.S. around like July or something.
Yeah, of this year. And I watched it by those YouTubers called...
Raka Raka
Yeah,
or
right,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
Dude,
or-
the McDonald's people, right?
Yes, yeah, the crazy Ronald McDonald videos. Yeah, where he's like slapping the kid and stuff. Yeah.
And I tell you, I was so genuinely impressed with that movie. It had such a genuinely interesting story.
I think the text is saying like, bro, this movie was good. Like,
Yeah, it's good. It's genuinely unique too with the whole like
Yeah.
it was actually cool, and the ending really kept me like the ending I thought was just incredibly smart.
Mm.
And again, I was blown away. It was a horror movie that I genuinely liked.
Mm.
Third one, I'm going Oppenheimer.
Mm.
I think technically, like if you were to think of technicality, like how technical the movie was, it should be number 1. But it was a great freaking movie.
And it's insane. Like speaking of just the technicality, like,
All
a little bit real
practical.
quick. Yeah, all practical effects. There's practically no CGI throughout the whole film.
And when you look at some of the effects that happen, you're like, how?
Yeah,
And then you see freaking him in the background spinning stuff, and
yeah.
it's crazy how they managed to achieve what they did. And the 3 hours kind of flew by,
Mhm.
in my opinion. And then in the soundtrack, the soundtracks are always gold.
Incredible.
And I listen to that soundtrack often, especially that one song that like changes its tempo and it's like it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my absolute favorite.
Okay.
That's my third one. My second one has to be Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Genuinely impressed the crap out of me. When you think about a sequel, it does everything a sequel should do. It expands the characters. It moves the plot forward. Absolutely great character writing.
I think I remember I walked out of it pissed off.
That's why it's my second. That's why it's my number 2, because although it was a fantastic movie, the ending really kind of was a gut punch. I didn't know it was going to be a part 1. So when the ending comes, I'm like, I'm ready for another 3 hours, mind you. So I'm sitting there like, oh, it's just getting started. It's just getting started. And then it ends, and I'm like, I get so pissed off. Like, you can hear the audience go, no. Right?
Dude, it's because the way that they show it, you haven't seen it, huh?
No,
No,
it's on my
you need
list
to.
as well.
It's so the character just says a quote basically, and then you're just like, finally, like,
You're
dude, we
hyped.
get to experience something new, and then it just goes blank. And when we watched it, I said that can't be it,
Yeah.
and it just made me so.
Yeah, that's why it's number 2. It's otherwise it's fantastic.
Don't tell me
freaking
your number
movie.
1 is Godzilla. Is it?
My number 1 is Godzilla -1.
Yeah, that's on my list as well.
I haven't seen a lot of movies, mind you, but this one,
That's crazy.
I was so freaking caught off guard. I expected absolutely nothing and received everything.
That's crazy.
That is, I mean, it was genuinely a fantastic freaking movie, man. Every single pillar of the story, the characters, the Godzilla action, the pacing, to me, it all worked freaking incredibly well. And I left that movie having a brand new appreciation for Godzilla franchise, especially from Toho Company and all that. So,
And see, and that was going to be a movie that I was going to say, don't bother watching.
which is crazy. It's crazy. To
I
me.
watched it in theaters, and
I loved it.
I was just.
I don't know. When I think about it now, I'm like Godzilla and Oppenheimer, maybe. But when I left the theater of Godzilla, I was like, I had like a genuine joy in my heart. I was like, yo, that was sick. Like I was telling Lisa, I was like I actually felt joy.
Yeah.
Oh, we're a
And-
creature.
Yeah, it was great, man. I think of some of those scenes often in my head, and I get goosebumps thinking of them.
Nice.
There is. I will say there is a scene that I think about often from that movie, and it's kind of wild because it just blows my mind that something happened like that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not the most technically savvy movie in the world. You know, it's not really treading new ground all that much either, but where it goes and what it hits on, I just think it does it so
Just
incredibly
a
well.
well-made film.
Yeah, just a well-made film. And
Nice.
I think I'm going to give it my top
All right.
for that.
All right. Yeah, I got a ton of those on my list to check out, as
Yeah.
well as a couple others.
Do you have any stinkers before we
Any
move on?
stinkers?
Five Nights at Freddy's has to be on that list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't
it
like
has
it?
to. I watched it. I joked the whole time. Like, it was so Have you guys all seen it?
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
Are you
I
gonna
watched
watch it?
No, no.
There's a scene, dude. There's a scene when they're building like a fort,
Yeah.
and like, and they're just dancing and singing.
Yeah.
Five Nights.
Oh, I have a controversial one.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about. It's okay. Maybe let's not call them stinkers. Let's just say you were disappointed, because it could technically be a fine movie.
A lot of people I follow on TikTok, cinema people, as well as Instagram cinema pages, and just people that I respect their movie opinion have added this on their list of like the best of the year. And it's, for me, I don't know, it didn't really hit for me. I went and saw it in theaters. I was fully expecting something, and I walked out of it and was just like, well, I don't get it. I don't get the hype. Everyone was like saying this is going to be the year's best movie, and it just really wasn't that for me. And that's Past Lives.
Ooh, I have
That's
seen that
live.
on a lot of
Yes.
lists.
I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy my time with it. I knew that it was going to be about these kids that like had just this thing with one another, where like, you know, they always had this like love for one another, but they were children that never really knew how to navigate it, and then they both move their separate ways. One gets married, the other doesn't, and then they meet again, like when they're, 30 years old or something like that, and they've already got lives set up and all this stuff, and then they encounter one another again, and it's just kind of like that sparking of like romance, or like what once was or something.
Yeah,
and I
what could
w-
have been kind of.
Yeah, and I was under the impression it was gonna be like a Before Sunrise
Oh
type
no.
thing, where it's like, that we
It's more
meet
like-
again, and it's more like, you know, like we pick up immediately where we left off, and like, oh man, you got married and I got married, and like, you know, there's just like all this like sadness, but also like happiness too, you know, and
It's more
I
like
don't-
bittersweet.
Yeah, the whole movie was just kind of like more bittersweet, and like I don't know, it didn't really hit the way that I was thinking it was going to, and I walked out of it kind of disappointed. And I will say that it does portray that feeling of like what once was or what could have been very realistically. And I think this was the director Celine Song's first movie, which is an incredible like feat to take on for this being your first film. You know, she's on my radar now, which is a for sure thing, and I'm excited to see what she'll do in the future. But I don't know, for me, it really wasn't that what I was looking for. And then another one that I've been seeing a lot of people have their minds blown on is Saltburn.
Dude, I've been seeing TikToks of people showing like people Saltburn, but I don't know anything about Saltburn.
And so I was hyped to watch it. I saw the theater. I was in the theater and I saw a preview for it, and I was like,
That looks pretty cool.
that looks interesting. The trailer tells you nothing. And so I was like, I love that kind of trailer. You know, like let me have no expectations, go into the movie and experience it for myself, right?
Yep.
And I just watched it maybe 2-3 days ago because it's now streaming on Amazon Prime, and everything that I had saw people talking about it on TikTok and on Instagram and all this stuff are just like people saying it's their favorite movie of the year, that it's incredible, the acting is wild, people are doing crazy things and improving crazy things, and people are showing their real stuff on screen and like all this stuff. Like it's just like everyone's talking about it, right? I go and watch it and I'm like, yeah, there's some crazy like shock value things that happen in the film that like I would almost like liken to a film like Call Me by Your Name. Like there's some crazy shock value things that happen there, right? But I left it, and just more or less at the end of it, I was kind of like, this was just like a worse version of Parasite. Like it just, like it was this movie was just much more stylized, and it looked beautiful. Like the set, the cinematography, the colors of this film, the costume design, like everything was great about it. But this movie is just, to me, felt like a worse version of Parasite, and it was only made to make Jacob Elordi look hot, which isn't hard to do. So
True.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something that I've also heard a lot of crazy things about that, and it's just it come to the point where I'm not really interested anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I have to say this, every time I hear Alexa scrolling on TikTok, I hear maybe 1 out of every 5 TikToks she watches is one of the songs that's in the movie.
Really?
And it's Murder on the Dance Floor, you better not kill the groove. And I'm like, is that about Saltburn? Yeah. And I'm like, how?
Did she watch it with you or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
And
felt the same?
I don't know if she felt the same. She heard me out with what I had to say, but I don't know if she necessarily agreed with me.
Fair.
But yeah.
Yeah. I only have a couple that I was disappointed in. That's Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. That was a big stinker for me. Big stinker. And The Flash, I think, was also horrible.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Forgot
That
that movie
one,
came out this year.
I don't like Ezra Miller at all.
As an actor?
No,
Or just
yeah.
as a person?
No, as
I
well,
know he's a terrible person.
I would say both. He's terrible at both. I don't know. I had absolutely zero fun in it. And then this one might be controversial, and you might even disagree with me, but I'm going to say Boy and the Heron. I was disappointed in. I felt it was a little too cerebral for me. Like, I really... The whole entire meaning of the movie kind of flew over my head.
Okay.
And I went in expecting like a Spirited Away, which was kind of, you're in this new world, but it's still somewhat familiar. You kind of can understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I didn't really get that. It's more of a slow pace, more of a it's more of a meditation on the actual director. Because after researching a little bit about what the movie meant, it's more of like the director is retiring, and he's kind of portraying that through the characters of the film and how you build your world and set it up and who's going to take it over with the blocks and all that. But it's, I don't know. I just felt I was a little disappointed when I left the theater. Not saying it's not beautiful. Obviously, every single Studio Ghibli movie's
I'll say that about The Boy and the Heron.
okay. You agree with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
The voice
'Cause-
acting was great. I
yeah,
mean, a lot of it was great.
I
It was
walked out and
mainly
was
the
just
story.
like, oh yeah, that was cool. But I will say I kind of the story and the meaning of the film was lost on me whenever I walked out of it, and I also didn't care to like research it. So like that was kind of something for me where I was kind of like, I'm okay not to return to it.
I think the thing that I just think about it, I just think about Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
As well. I catch myself going
Yeah,
all the
they're
time.
great in it.
They are, yeah. I'm telling you, everything. A lot of things worked.
Yeah.
The characters,
It's beautiful.
the voice acting. It's beautiful.
It's I was telling my brother and sister-in-law about it because they wanted to watch it, and they were like, "Well, what didn't you not like about it?" And I said, "It's not that I didn't like it. I said what I really enjoyed it was you can tell it's a Studio Ghibli movie, but it's so much more advanced and so much more prettier than a Studio Ghibli movie that you would see in 2000."
Yeah.
And I said that's what kind of made it enjoyable. And my brother was like, oh, "Okay," and my sister was like, "Oh, okay." She was
I don't
kind of
know.
turned off about it, but
Yeah, it was the story. I just lacked that kind of heart that I really needed to really
Okay.
care about these characters.
All
That might be a hot take, but who cares? That's why we do these things.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I know that we do have a lot to look forward to movie-wise in the year 2024. I'm hyped for Dune Part 2. As well as a couple other films that are down the pipeline I'm excited for. So
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
I'm there for it.
Yeah. So it's I always think it's fun kind of putting together your favorite list or something like that you loved out of the year and kind of seeing what people think about it as well. So
Sure.
yeah, I think that's about it here for the loved list. And now we're going to move on to the film that we're talking about today,
I know.
which is Nick's pick.
Yeah. I chose the 1971 movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This one stars Gene Wilder, as well as a couple others. I just think of it as the Gene Wilder movie.
Yeah, he's the prominent name.
Yeah, he's the heart.
Because a lot of the child actors here would go on to never act again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And this movie has been around, forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the cultural main stage for as long as I've been alive.
I remember seeing it in school.
I remember seeing Charlie in the Chocolate Factory in school.
Yeah, I mean, it's so popular that not only was it this based off a book, but other people have been doing it as well.
Yeah.
And now there's even a prequel for it. So,
Yeah.
it's genuinely popular, and I think people really like it just because of its silly, it's wondrous, it's like
whimsical.
yeah, it's just whimsical. It's a movie that especially when the 2023 Wonka came out, that's a movie you're like, oh, I got the whole family. Let's go watch Wonka.
Yeah.
It's
Comes
the
out
most-
Christmas Day.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
it's best movie to watch for Christmas,
Yeah.
and I liked it.
Okay.
It's surprising to me to return to it. I mean, I had almost forgotten every single plot detail. Almost every single plot detail. I
Okay.
mean, it's crazy how much this movie has just escaped my mind. And it's replaced by a lot of the Tim Burton stuff. So I think when I think of Willy Wonka, I think of Johnny Depp.
Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka.
Yeah, with those
Yeah.
freaking
His big old glasses too.
Yeah.
yeah. I think of him and how like pale and dead he looks
Or
with his
the-
straight white teeth.
What's he say? Good morning, sunshine. The earth says hello. Like that.
so
like
Johnny Depp is
Yeah.
a different person in that movie.
It's
Yeah.
I refuse to believe it's Johnny Depp. He looks so different with his bob cut.
Yeah.
He almost reminds me of the lead singer from Outkast with the bob.
freaking Andre 3000
Yes. I just want to see him
going.
Yeah, I just want to see Wonka do that now.
Yeah, absolutely classic. How have you guys watched this movie?
Charlie and the Chocolate
Yes.
Factory.
Yes. What's
Willy
your history
Wonka?
with it?
Or Charlie.
So-
Charlie, the first one.
Charlie and the
1971.
Chocolate Factory came out in 2005, so I was a kid, and I remember being upset. I've never told this to anybody other than Alexa, and like my family knows, but I was obsessed with it to the point like when it came on DVD, they had like little features, like special features, and they had dance tutorials that the Oompa Loompas did.
Did you?
And I would learn them. I would learn them, And I loved it for some reason as a kid. And I liked Tim Burton as a kid too.
Fair.
Like I was obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas and A Corpse Bride and
come
like
on.
all of that stuff as a kid. And I when I heard, I also loved Edward Scissorhands and a lot of Tim Burton films. And so and Beetlejuice, I'm thinking of Beetlejuice. I loved those movies as a kid. And so when I saw he's coming out with a new one, I was like, we gotta watch it. And it's about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I liked Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, so let's watch it. And as a kid, I loved it. I have not watched that movie in maybe 10 plus years. So I couldn't tell you if it holds up or not.
Okay.
But returning to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I had a great time with this.
Yeah.
And it's something that's always stuck in my mind. Like if you told me, that you're thinking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I'm immediately going to be thinking about "Come with me,
Yeah.
and you'll
Yeah.
be like." I'm thinking about all the music. I'm thinking about Gene Wilder.
I'm thinking about the freaking
I'm thinking
Chocolate
about
River.
and going into that
That tunnel of death.
yeah, dude.
Dude, why? He's so creepy in
I
that
love it.
scene.
I don't know why.
It makes me uncomfortable.
It's hilarious to me.
Yeah, it is. I deem
It's
this
one of my
movie-
favorite scenes.
That's
Yeah, we'll
crazy.
talk
I
about
don't
it.
like it.
I credit that scene to getting me into like experimental cinema, like watching like David Lynch movies and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, and then and being like, I like this stuff.
It's almost like Sinister, bro.
It all stems back to Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. I left this movie thinking of two words to describe it: fever dream.
Yeah.
Like, really, that's the only way I could genuinely describe what I was watching.
Yeah.
Because it starts off really kind of innocent and wholesome. Kids are in this world where candy's like really. I mean, it's
Specifically, just this candy maker.
yeah, true. Willy Wonka is almost like a Bill Gates of this world, where
Yeah.
he is just this. Everyone knows him all across the world. He's this like the most famous guy ever.
He's probably like the Hershey's of the chocolate in this world.
Easily.
Even bigger. Like he is known in every culture,
Mhm.
and like
Or M&M's.
schools.
What's the most popular candy?
He's known enough to where schools straight up stop session and let people out to go buy chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not why.
It's crazy.
He is
Class
the
dismissed.
biggest name in the world.
Yeah, and it feels innocent at the beginning. You got kids who are buying candy bars and all,
Yeah.
trying to get this golden ticket.
Yeah.
But also
And-
in the city, like where they're dismissing classes, where Wonka actually is, right?
It's in this little town that doesn't really get a
Yeah.
name, but
So I think that's why also it's kind of a big deal
yeah,
because
That's
it's
true.
in that big, it's in that little town.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's true. Well, I'll get to it. Maybe I can go into a synopsis a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
here. It's really Willy Wonka has been I almost feel like he's fueling the economy there, honestly.
yeah. He might as well be.
Because a long time ago, I mean, he's had this factory that he's been going for a long time, had people, tons of factory workers doing it, but throughout the years he's been doing his thing, there's been several spies that go in and steal his designs, come out, and they make it themselves, obviously cutting into his profits. So got absolutely fed up with it and completely shut down business. The economy crumbled. Everyone's destitute.
Yeah.
They're drinking cabbage water.
Yeah.
Like, it genuinely is what I think is happening, right?
Yeah, might as well. have.
And Willy Wonka is gone for, I think he says 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you see smoke coming out of the smokestacks, like the factory's working again, but there's no one there.
Yeah,
Company's still closed.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, Wonka starts hitting the shelves. People
Yeah.
are buying candy now again.
By the millions.
Yeah,
And no one knows what's going on until one day it's announced that 5 golden tickets are randomly in Wonka bars, and if you get a golden ticket, you have the opportunity to come and tour the factory.
right.
And it kind of starts off as
And also win a lifetime supply of chocolate.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't know
Yeah.
what you do with that, but
Yeah.
yes, a lifetime supply of chocolate and the opportunity to look at the factory.
right.
And these 5 kids win it, and they go into the factory, and it kind of deteriorates from there.
Yeah,
They go and see they go into the wild mind of Willy Wonka.
right.
So that's it.
That's a good summary.
That's
Like,
really
if I saw somebody who had never heard of this movie, that would
Yeah, you
give
told
them
the
everything
story
that they
pretty
need
good.
to know about what the movie is going to be about.
Yeah.
Currently streaming on HBO Max.
It is. Both of them.
Both. Oh, even Charlie and the
Yes,
Chocolate
Charlie
Factory. Interesting.
and Willy Wonka are both there.
Okay. So go check them out on HBO Max if you've got that streaming platform. If you need a refresher or if you haven't even seen this movie, go do it. It is a great film. And it's kind of crazy. I would recommend it because this movie, I guess, is technically considered a musical.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. The music is very memorable.
Holds up.
And it does hold up. I think that it is. There's not a feeling where the music feels dated or anything like that, or even the acting at that point or anything. So go check it out if you haven't. We're going to be talking about spoilers as always. So if that's something that bothers you, you want to stay away from spoilers, pause the episode, come back, or if you don't care, continue listening.
Let's do it.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the categories. First being favorite scenes.
My first favorite scene is the Candyman song.
Me too.
I freaking love it. It brings me back to that childhood wonder of like going into the I love candy shops.
Yeah, me too.
I know they haven't been around. There was one here in town for a long time.
Yeah.
And you'd go in and it just have you ever been to Winco?
Yes.
They
The
have
tubs.
those tubs of it just
Yeah.
feels like heaven for
Yeah.
as,
That's how
as
I
a
feel
kid.
when I go to Santa Cruz to that
Yes.
to
Yeah.
that by Bubba Gump's, and they have that where I get my foot.
The fudge, they have all the
Yes.
seas candy everywhere. It just seems great.
Yeah.
But this is like on steroids.
It is.
Yeah. And I have to say, whenever I saw this movie as a kid and I saw that the length of what that candy store goes to get all of this candy in there, I saw that as a kid and I was like, I want to go to a shop like that, dude.
Yeah.
Like just being able to look anywhere and being like,
And
I can
see
get
candy.
this lollipop or these chocolates, or I could get this taffy or this huge gummy bear. Like,
Yeah.
there's just all of this stuff. And I think it perfectly encapsulates that saying of being like a kid in a candy store, right? Like you walk in and you
you're
just,
just
you don't know what you even want because there's just so much stuff there, right? And I think it almost hits on like the idea that like for kids, candy is like currency.
a little bit.
100%.
A little bit.
Like
100%.
like candy, it means so much to children, and like that's why holidays like Halloween are freaking huge. And if you put a kid in a candy store and you give him some money, he is gonna walk out feeling like the richest person in the world. It just hits that feeling for me.
Yeah,
And
it does.
I really enjoy this scene.
I like it in that aspect, and then I really just enjoy the song a lot too. And when you think about the lyrics of it, they're building. It's subconsciously building up Wonka as to be this like this man of pure legend.
Yeah.
Because when you think of the lyrics, like who can take the sunrise,
Sprinkle it with the
and then cover it with chocolate and a miracle or two, the
Yeah.
Candyman can.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, yeah. it's again, it's like that wonder of. It's more than chocolate, you know.
Yeah.
It's more than candy. It's about creativity.
yeah,
It's
and-
about
and the feeling, right, of like the wonder of getting to, be able to have candy. Right?
And in a society where obviously not every person, but especially our main character, candy to them is more of like a
delicacy.
Yeah, it's
something
a-
that you can't have all the time.
yeah. It just felt so. I don't know when you know what's gonna come next
Mm-hmm.
and you hear the Candyman can.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's how Wonka should be.
Yeah. I also like too how the story sets up that not only does it set it up like with where Charlie is living or anything like that, but it shows that Charlie is not he's not the best off, right? He doesn't get to sit there inside the candy store with all of the kids who are buying all their candy because he doesn't have any money. He sits outside and watches it from afar out at the window and runs his paper route and, gets paid
Pennies.
a couple of pounds at the time,
Yeah.
and does his paper route. It shows that this kid is going to school. He has like a little side job that he does, and he goes home, and what does he do with the money that he earns? He buys bread for his family that's living in this tiny little shack,
Yeah.
and like spends just a little bit of it on candy, and then tries to share it with everybody. Like wants everyone to experience what he's about to experience.
That
right?
part also shook me because he was like, "I'm gonna buy your tobacco, Grandpa." Like,
Yeah.
like he's just trying to take care of him, but also you're a kid. Like,
Yeah.
buying your grandpa tobacco is crazy.
It's like he's an adult, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And he like Charlie is having no chance to kind of be a kid. Like he's immediately having to grow up and starting to just help in any way that he can, provide for his family the way that his mom is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really good opening to the movie.
Yeah.
And it also sets up our character that we follow throughout the film
It does.
really well, I think.
Yes, and that is Charlie.
Yeah. I have to say, too, I include this in that whole scene because whenever he's going on his paper route, he stops by the Wonka factory. And it's a super sick shot, the way that he's, like, looking in through the fence.
Oh, and it goes,
and then and it, like, lights up on the little smokestack.
It looks sick.
Super cool. But as he's sitting there watching it, this part specifically used to terrify me as a kid because I never understood why it was in the movie. And the guy that comes up to him is just so incredibly menacing. But this guy comes up to him with like this cart just full of dangling like meat cleavers. And he's looking at him and he just goes, "Nobody ever goes into that factory and comes out." And it's like, to me, if I am in that situation and some random guy with hanging cleavers and knives from this cart approaches me from behind and is like, "No one's ever gone into that factory and come out alive," I'm going to be like, "Oh, he's going to kill me."
Yeah.
And I'm running for my life. I'm telling my mom. I'm going to call the police. Like, all that stuff. And I still watch this, and I'm like, why is he here? Like, he is so terrifying.
Yeah.
Like,
just to start you with that idea of like, this universe is weird, man.
Yeah.
There's going to be weird stuff that's happening.
Him and the guy that plays Slugworth, like,
Yes.
randomly emerging from the darkness and being like, "I'll give you 10,000 pounds to get me an everlasting gobstopper." Like, I was always like terrified of that as a kid. It was just super strange for me. And when revisiting it, I was kind of like, man, they used to scare me as a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's a really good intro.
yeah. My next favorite scene is actually whenever Charlie buys the chocolate
The
bar.
golden ticket.
Right.
Yeah, that's my next one too.
And to give a little context as to how we get here, the announcement happens that 5 golden tickets are now out in Wonka bars across the world. So, in the entire world's population, there are only 5 of these tickets that are going out, and 5 lucky people are going to be able to tour the factory and have the potential to win a lifetime supply of a Wonka chocolate, whenever they want, right? And up until this point, we've been watching these kids slowly get the chocolate. You got Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregard, and what's his name?
Mike TV.
Mike TV,
Yeah.
right? And so the 4 of them, they're all winning these tickets, and you kind of get the inclination that these kids don't deserve it. They're kind of like snobby and uppity, or they're brats. They are kind of making fun of people on TV who didn't get the ticket, or they're super spoiled, or they're just like incredibly rude.
Don't even
right?
like chocolate.
don't even like chocolate.
They just
really.
want it
They
because
just
they want
wanted
it.
it, right? And they just so happened to got it, right?
No. Oh.
And so we get this red herring happen where a 5th ticket gets discovered in like Paraguay or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And come to find out, it's actually a counterfeit ticket. It's fake. And now the race for the 5th ticket is still on. There's still one left.
But
right?
he just bought it.
Right. And so Charlie is, before he gets that news, he randomly stumbles across some extra money in the gutter, goes into the candy store with it, and is like, because all this Wonka hype has died down, I can get anything that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So, goes into the candy store. The candy man looks at him and is like, "Oh, you got to try one of these right here. This is a scrumdiddlyumptious bar." And, gives it to him, and he starts freaking scarfing that thing
Dude.
down like he's never eaten chocolate before.
Yeah.
And even the candy man kind of looks at him and was like, "Whoa, slow your roll. You're going to get a stomach ache. You go that fast, man."
Stupid.
And, he's sitting there, kind of eats it all like right then and there and starts to walk out and kind of has a second thought. And he turns around and is like, "Actually, you know what? The little bit of money that I have left here, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to buy a Wonka bar for my grandpa." And so, he goes around in a selfless act, right?
Yep.
Gets some money that he does not, he could technically go back and give it to his mom or something like that. Buys a chocolate bar for his grandfather and starts to walk out. And as he's holding that chocolate bar, gets the news that the 5th ticket was fake.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's potentially a race again for who could get that 5th ticket. And what does Charlie do? He immediately is like, I've got a Wonka bar here.
Let me open
That
it.
means there could be a golden ticket in here, right? So opens it up, and I love the anticipation and the suspense that the film builds, where it's like that close up shot of him kind of unwrapping
Yeah,
it
you're
slowly, and the music is swelling up, and we don't really know if it's gonna be there or not. And then right as he unwraps one of those corners, we see a little gold foil piece, and you're just like, he's got it. Wrap it off. Throw the chocolate bar on the ground. I don't even care about the chocolate anymore, right? And he pulls it up and he's got it.
Dude, I don't know if it was just me, but when he was like holding it up and the crowd surrounds him, I
was
was like,
Dude,
I was like, put that crap in your pocket,
yeah,
dude. Like,
people
do
are gonna
not
take
run.
that from you.
Yeah, I'm cynical. I know
Yeah.
people would be like, because even when
Yeah.
yes. Maybe I'm getting it confused. Isn't it? No, I am getting it confused with Charlie, because in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he finds it and people are like,
Someone tries to
I'll
take
give you
it.
$50. I'll
Yeah.
give you $100.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I wouldn't trust anybody.
No.
But he runs home.
Yeah. Runs home. Newspaper guys like, go home with that Charlie. Run quickly, right? And so he's running home as fast as he can. He encounters Mr. Slugworth, and he's like, I'll give you 10,000 pounds if you bring me an everlasting gobstopper. I'm with Slugworth candies, and we're trying to crack Wonka's secret formula. If you give me one, you'll get 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. And so, now he has this idea where, like, if I go there, I could potentially now also get some money for my family and my, based on my family's conditions that we've seen previous in the
We
film.
need money.
We need it, right? There is something here that could be benefited from if I do this, right? So he goes home, he shows everybody I've got the golden ticket, and the rest of the film plays out from there. So.
Yeah. Favorite scene gotta be when the freaking grandpa starts getting up and is like,
That's a bro
I've got a
moment.
golden ticket.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
understand.
a moment for me too, because
Dude, he hasn't stood up for freaking
He said
20
20
years.
years.
bedridden.
bedridden for 20 years, the immediate
then
chance
it's-
that you get to go to a chocolate factory, he's like, all right, let's get up, lads, let's go. I got to put my shoes on. We got to dance a little bit here. It's like, bro, you could have been working. You could have been helping.
20 years of not using your legs. I mean, you got to have some toothpicks,
Yeah.
right?
And bed sores and all
There's
that stuff.
no freaking way. And he gets up and is able to be like,
You know what one of my thoughts was whenever I seen them all in the bed like that and they can't move was, how do they go to the bathroom?
They probably
Like
I didn't even think about
are they
that.
all wearing diapers? Where do they poop and pee? Like, is it just, are they all wearing diapers and they're just sitting in their own filth? And then the mom has to come home after a long, a long
'em.
shift of doing laundry and then clean them.
I don't know.
I
didn't. No, they
they got
whole,
bedpans right there.
No,
and
they
just
got
like,
hole. It's the mattress, and then there's a big hole in the mattress.
They
And
just
right through
Ew, dude. Big old pit.
it.
Just
Exactly.
Nasty. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, Grandpa Joe is, I'm questioning him at this point. I'm like, okay, you're bedridden for 20 years. Now you get the chance to go to some chocolate factory for one day, and you're like, all right, let's get out of bed.
Yeah.
let's,
Wild.
let's do this.
I definitely laughed. The song was all right too. Singing,
Yeah.
I got a golden ticket.
Yeah, I also think of that whenever I think of Willy Wonka. Is, I got a golden ticket.
I got a
I got a
golden.
twinkle in my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that. But mine's not. My next one's not until they actually get to the factory.
Same here.
So
Got anything, Abe?
No, not most of my stuff is in bro moments.
Okay. I have to say I really enjoyed just getting into the chocolate room, is what they called it.
Yes, this is my favorite. It's where the most iconic song plays as well.
Yes.
And it's perfectly fitting too when he talks about world of your imagination.
Right.
You want to see paradise, just view it. And
Yeah.
all these kids are like, and he's
Yeah.
kind of like he's guiding them down the stairs, but he's like stopping them to sing, and it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, I even love before it, like the optical illusions that he brings them through.
Yeah.
And there's one of my favorite quotes in the film is whenever they're like getting jammed
It's
into
ridiculous.
that little room and then being like, oh, let's turn around and go it this way. And one of the dads is like, we just came in that way. Are you crazy? And, he opens it back up. It's a whole nother room. And as soon as he opens it up, one of the dads is like, He's like, what'd you bring us into here, Wonka? Are you running a fun house? And he turns around and goes, why, are you having fun?
Yeah.
And it's like one of those quick little witty comments that like Willy Wonka will continue to do throughout the movie that I love.
Yeah.
And we get brought into this like optical illusion where
It's a
It
small
looks
little
like the
door.
room is getting small, but we're getting bigger, and it's just incredibly well done. And I remember as a kid always just being like, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like I love that. I want to do that.
Again, it's just showing how silly he is or
Yeah.
whimsical because he has got this tiny little door for all the big taste of chocolate to keep that all the way, and he's like, now I gotta put in this key and to play this piano.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a sound password.
Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. And then the big door opens and you see what they really came for.
Yeah. And it is truly a world of your
Your-
imagination.
Mhm.
It is filled to the max with, trees.
Everything's
and
eatable.
Mushrooms they look like, and just a chocolate river that has a chocolate waterfall.
Dude.
And then he tells you like everything in this room is edible. You can eat everything. And that to me as a kid when I heard that was like, you're telling me I could go up to a flower and eat it as candy?
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do something like that as a kid after seeing this movie. And like specifically whenever he ends the song and he like takes that little cup
Dude,
and takes a drink and then
The
eats it,
teacup, dude.
I like as a kid I was like, I want to try that.
I want that so bad.
I don't know what it was,
Yes.
but like seeing him just take a bite of it after he's done drinking out of it, I was just like, that's got to be so good. Like,
Yeah, it's so cool. I loved watching the kids go in there, and you get to see them all kind of get their own thing. You see them, even the parents getting into it. Like
Yeah.
that one salesman dad has like that long string that he bites onto.
Yeah.
You see one of the moms is that like and then you see freaking Augustus Gloop.
Yeah.
He's a train wreck, just taking everything, shoving it into his mouth.
Yeah.
He is like a glutton for what's going on.
Exactly.
And we get the scene where we finally see the actual workers of the factory, and it's these little Oompa Loompas.
Right.
And he talks about, where the Oompa Loompas came from. They're from this
Loompa Land.
From
Loompa
a-
Land. And, there were real bad conditions there, so he made a deal that if he comes to,
He
brought
moved
them.
the entire population of Loompa Land.
Yeah, so they can be safe,
Mhm.
and they did. And it's funny to see the Oompa Loompas, and then you see freaking Augustus Gloop.
Yeah.
And
And this is where we also get a point in the film where he's like, Willy Wonka starts freaking out and is like,
my
my
chocolate, is
chocolate
never
cannot be touched by human hands. You're contaminating all of my chocolate right now. He doesn't care. Just keeps going and drinking it and drinking it and drinking it.
In his defense, though, it's kind of Wonka's fault. He said everything and
Everything
anything
is
is
edible.
edible.
True.
Yeah. I don't know. But at a point, he starts, just going in, and eventually falls into the river.
Dude. He's
And-
drowning. He's literally
he's
drowning.
like, just going crazy. Can't get up. He can't swim. And this is another point where we get like Wonka's humor,
Yeah.
where he comes out and his mom is sitting there screaming. She's like, "My son, help him! He can't swim!" And Willy Wonka kind of turns around and goes, "Well, I guess there was never a better time to learn."
Yeah.
And like, and then she's like, "You've got to help him! Help him!" And he goes, "Help, police, murder." And she like just doesn't care at all in the most dry tone. And she's like, she looks at him and just goes like, "You're a sick man, Wonka," or something like that. And then all of a sudden he gets sucked down under.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What happened to him? What happened to him?" And then, eventually Wonka's like, "Oh, he's getting sucked into that tunnel right there. We're going to see him any minute right now." And he eventually, he pops out. And he's sitting there just covered in chocolate.
The
He's
pipes.
causing all this pressure. And, he's like, "Oh, yeah, look, he's causing a blockage right here. All this pressure is going to happen." And then eventually he's just going to, go to the fudge room,
yeah.
right? And even Charlie's grandpa's kind of look at him and he goes, "Remember how I told you how a bullet works when it comes out of a gun? There's, you're about to see it happen right here in real time." And you see freaking Augustus just
Yeah.
up the vacuum tube. Yeah.
And the Oompa song afterwards is just
A
Iconic.
a banger, dude. It's so
Oompa,
iconic.
loompa, doompa-dee, doom. I've got to. It's great.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that I noticed now as an adult watching this movie is that every time the Oompa Loompas sing a song, it always has to do with a they're virtue signaling me. Is
little
really
bit.
what it is. They're pushing their virtues onto me.
Dude,
But-
they literally say, "What do you get when you guzzle down sweets? Eating as much as an elephant eats."
Yeah. And it's just essentially the whole song is about like, you shouldn't be greedy. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't
I don't like the look of it.
You shouldn't
Yeah.
overindulge in things. And if you want to be happy, like the Oompa Loompas are, then you should not be greedy. You shouldn't overindulge in things, and you should do these things to live in happiness, like the Oompa Loompa do. And that you'll see that that's a common motif as every child kind of gets picked off and gets murdered by Willy Wonka. And, every time that happens, the Oompa Loompas will come in and they'll sing a song that kind of has that theme to it.
Yeah,
But
it has specific lyrics that go directly to what's going on
Yeah.
or what has gone on.
yeah, and kind of what you should be striving for.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Enjoyable, that's for sure. Any favorite scenes after this? My next one is going through the tunnel.
It's right after this.
That's a bro moment. Like,
It's a bro moment for me too.
I think this scene is so funny.
Is there a reason though?
N-
What is the freaking reason? Like,
I think that's one of the funnier parts too. Is that this part doesn't really have a point to the film, but it's so funny to me that Willy Wonka just wants to scare these kids.
why? I don't get it. I don't understand.
It's so funny to me.
Like, they're going down this dark tunnel. The lights are going insane.
They're
I don't
going
even. Are they
incredibly
moving?
fast. He says they're going incredibly fast. He doesn't know where they're going, and
the
like,
rowers can keep on rowing.
yeah, it's so funny to me. And I think it's funny because I'm an older brother. Like, so like whenever I had the chance to scare
You're doing
my
it.
little brothers, I'm doing it, and it's making me laugh hard. And it's because my dad did it to me. I would hate it when it was done to me, but whenever I did it to somebody else, I'm having the best time. It's hilarious, right? And I saw a super funny meme the other day where it played that part where he goes, "Yes, is the Grizzly Reaper mowing? The danger must be growing for the rowers. Keep on rowing." He's just going insane, just trying to freak these kids out.
Dude.
And the caption on the top was like, "When you got picked to babysit somebody for their trip." And I just thought about like a scenario in my head where someone's tripping balls off acid or LSD or something like that and messing with them and like scaring them while they're on their trip, just being super funny to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was hilarious. And I there is no reason for this scene to be there, but I think it's hilarious. So, all right.
While he's gone, I'm telling you, while he's going through this tunnel, it's one thing for him to be like, the rowers keep rowing, but then you look at the walls and it's like insects
Like
and
people-
bugs.
like centipedes crawling over people's faces and chickens getting their heads cut
I'm
off.
like, what the? Why? I don't understand. That's why I classify it as a fever dream, because they're supposed to be enjoying their time. One
Yeah.
kid just died. Now they're going through a tunnel of nightmares.
Yeah.
It freaking blew me. I was laughing the entire time because I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, super funny. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, and then the lights turn off. They're at their destination at the invention room,
Yep.
and they go on from there.
Yeah,
It was absolutely blew my mind.
yeah.
Um,
Any other favorite scenes from that point?
I have. I pretty much like. We don't have to talk about them in detail, but I talked about Violet turning violet.
Okay.
I like the whole scenes where they're going through the invention room. They're seeing all the cop stoppers. You finally get that whole thing that never ends. And I really like it because he positions it as like a, if you don't have a lot of cash, these are gonna be on like pennies on the dollar, and you
Yeah.
can suck them forever. They'll never get smaller.
Right.
And he gives it to all of them, but they have to solemnly swear that it'll be theirs and theirs alone,
Yeah.
and they won't give it to anyone else.
Mhm.
And obviously, you see they're doing their whole like I promise, but then you see some of the kids, doing their
Yep.
behind their back and all that, and that's
Yeah.
funny. But then it gets to the point where he's got this insane contraption that's making it looks like it's making pizza, or
Yeah.
it's like there's just all of these
All this stuff going on.
all these
Boxing
moving
gloves,
parts.
punching some flour.
Yeah, you see honeybees, the honey's dripping out,
Yeah.
all to produce this one stick of gum.
Yeah.
And of course, we know who loves chewing gum, not only but friggin' Violet.
Beauregard.
Yeah, Violet Beauregard. She takes this piece, and doesn't heed his warning, saying that there's been a problem. Don't do it. She does it anyways, and she's like,
He's all,
Wow.
no, stop, please.
so emotionless.
Yeah.
And what's the first course? It's soup, tomato soup,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, I could feel it rushing down my throat.
Yeah. And then she's like, the second course is coming up. Roast beef and baked potato.
Yeah. And she's like having the time of her life. And then she starts saying the apple or the blueberry pie and ice cream.
Yep.
And she starts turning blue.
Yep.
She starts turning violet. And then
Yeah.
she starts growing and growing and growing.
Mhm.
And of course, there's another kid down the hatch.
Yep.
Turn into a blueberry.
Yeah. I actually read a super funny fact in regards to this scene. So I guess whenever they would film whenever they were filming this scene specifically, they had to get a ton of takes. But whenever they did it, it was around like midday. So they did it where they could do a couple takes and then take a lunch break and then come back. And because they did that during the lunch break, the girl who played Violet would
Did
have
she
to be in her suit.
Oh, really?
So they'd be at her lunch break and she just sat there in her like inflatable suit trying to have a lunch break. And I was also reading too that apparently like her and the girl that played Veruca Salt had a big crush on Charlie.
Really?
Yeah, so like they would always fight with one another to see like who would sit with him that day or
What?
who would spend time with him and all this stuff. They all had big crushes on him. So I can only imagine that she would be like so embarrassed
To be in this,
to
like,
be in this big old inflatable suit.
she can't even move. How do you even like manipulate your
They'd
arms
have to
get
mold.
the
They
food?
had people had to move her. Like so, like the way that they roll her around in the movie
Is real?
is real. That's how they would have to move her around.
I figured that they'd give her like for her lunch break the roasted potatoes and or roast beef and all that, like to just get into character or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. From there, my next favorite scene doesn't happen until we get to the Wonka Vision room.
Oh, okay. So you skip over Veruca.
Yes.
Veruca Salt, golden
Yeah.
egg.
Yeah,
Well,
because
it's she's so freaking annoying.
yeah,
dude.
because mainly whenever it happens, I'm like, it's that meme where it goes, I'm sick of her. Yeah, get out of her. I'm sick of her. Like I'm screaming that whenever she goes down
She
the
is
bad egg
sh-
chute.
dude. It is so difficult to listen to her saying,
I want
it
the world."
now."
Yeah,
I don't even. Yeah, I hate that. Just that characteristic of a person. So
Yeah.
seeing her, I was just like, good,
I want to vote like this, Daddy. I want to know.
dude. I want it now. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you piece of crap, just die.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, skip over her. So Mike TV, he's
Yeah.
one of the like more genius kind of characters who doesn't like the chocolate.
Yes. Doesn't even like the chocolate. Just randomly happened to get it. Is obsessed with TV. And we come across a room that Willy Wonka's working on called Wonka Vision. And his whole entire thought process behind it is that he's working on processing a technology that could transport candy to anyone into the world. And the idea behind it is if you make it big enough, by the time it's done transporting into the Wonka Vision television or whatever, you'll be able to like be a perfectly sized candy bar, and you'll be able to reach into the TV and grab it and bring it out and eat the chocolate just like that. And incredible idea.
It is.
Crazy creative idea.
Yeah.
And they show him how it kind of works. Oompa Loompas are bringing up this freaking huge piece of
It's
chocolate bar,
massive.
like huge chocolate bar, right? And they zap it with this ray, and you see the particles above everyone's head kind of teleporting into the
Yeah, it's
Wonka
like
Vision set. Yeah, and as soon as it materializes in there, you're able to pull it out, eat it, tastes exactly the same. And Mike TV gets the idea, like, well,
You've created
like this huge teleportation device, and you can like put someone, like you can put anything in somebody's home immediately. That's crazy, right? And so he's like, have you tried it with other things? And Willy Wonka's like, no, not yet. And he goes, do you think it would be able to work on anything? And he goes, well, yeah, I don't see why not. And he goes, have you tried a human? And he goes, no, I can't say that we have yet. And as he's walking away from the thing, he's like, I want to be the first human to ever be transported through Wonka Vision. So he puts his goggles on real quick and he stands there.
jumps in, flies
All
up,
of a sudden,
and is like,
boom, zaps. And he starts getting transported over. Mom is freaking out, and as he starts to materialize into this little screen, we start to see him, come through. But now he's tiny, right? And I just love the mom freaking out and being like, what's happening? And picking him up from the TV and putting him in her purse and all this stuff. And like, I also love Willy Wonka and his like almost kind of like disdain for this kid.
Yeah.
Because he even goes as far as to like, whenever he's like about to jump into there, he goes, "No, don't, please, stop," and like does his like,
He just doesn't care.
usual unenthusiastic cry for help type thing. And as it's happening, it goes, through the Wonka vision, he gets transported over. And then as soon as she's like, "What happened? Like, now how am I going to get my kid back to regular size?" And he's like, "Well, I suggest we could probably get him into the taffy puller and we can try to stretch him out, a little bit and see what happens here." And, he takes, as the mom puts him into her bag.
She passes out.
Yeah, she passes out. Willy Wonka takes the bag from her and then starts going, "Whoom, whoom, whoom," and like swinging it like pretty crazily.
Trying to kill the kid.
And I was like, dude, he's really letting this kid have it. Like, and then gives it to the Oompa Loompa and is like, take this immediately to the taffy puller room and see if we can stretch this kid out and try to get him back to normal, and take the mom with you so that way, she can see what's going on. And, that's the last kid other than Charlie that makes it all the way to the end of the tour. And it's also the last scene for me as well.
Yeah, me too. The ending didn't blow me away too much. So
Yeah.
I just had to skip it.
Okay. All right. Is that it for the favorite scenes here?
I'm sure we talked about the. I'm sorry, I stepped away. The blueberry scene.
Yes, we did.
Okay, yeah, that scene is just always iconic to me because
Violet, you're turning violet.
Yeah.
And then seeing a person turn into a blueberry, even in Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, that was funny.
She was
Because
freaking massive.
Yeah.
She gets like the size of almost like the New York ball drop, bruh.
Yeah.
She's huge.
She's huge.
Yeah.
So seeing this here and seeing it where it originated, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, show.
All right. If that's it for the favorite scenes, then let's move into our next category, being best quotes. My next one, or my only other one that we have other than the one I mentioned, comes from Willy Wonka as well. And it's a funny little like one-liner where they're in the invention room. And I think it's Veruca Salt's dad, comes up to him and he goes, "Wonka, you got something else going on the side here, butterscotch, butter gin," or something like that. And he kind of looks at the dad and goes, "Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker."
That was like, he says some random things. Another one from Mr. Salt and Wonka was they're in a machine, and he puts football cleats in there, and then he says,
Oh, yeah.
"What's that for?" And he goes, "It just gives it a little kick."
Yeah.
Like, stupid, bro. The dumbest thing.
Yeah.
He leans over to Mr. Salt and he even says a little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest man. I was
Yeah.
like, I get it. I get what he's going for.
Yeah. Any other quotes here?
No. Just all the
Oompa
Oompa Loompa songs.
Loompa.
Yeah. True. All right. If that's it for the quotes, then let's get into our bruh moment category.
My first bro moment is in the beginning when we see Charlie delivering papers, and he goes, "Oh, it's payday," and when like he hands him
It's payday, Mr. Joe Peck.
it's literally just like loose change.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean that's a lot back then,
Quarters.
but like
Well, and it's
Dang.
also, he pays him in English pounds. So, like, he gets, like, coins, Like,
I didn't think
I don't know
about
the
that.
currency rate, exchange rate over there, but I would
Can't
assume
be
it's
good.
probably lower than minimum wage.
Enough to get a singular loaf of bread.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
My first bro moment not only came, we already talked about the scary cleaver guy. The class being dismissed.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
because a
chocolate.
chocolate factory is hiding golden tickets in Wonka bars, and you have to buy them in order to get a chance to go.
True.
And that's enough to warrant shutting school down. And like even like world news stations keeping up with the purchase of Wonka bars, the transport of Wonka bars, like Wonka bars being transported by airplane and being guarded with gunned
Yeah.
security guards, like security guards with straight up Tommy guns, it looks like.
Yeah.
Like, is insane.
I
Like-
love that it's basically the first half of the movie where everyone's getting their hands on Wonka bars, and I love there's even the guy that's like, they just made AI or a computer program or
Dude,
whatever. And he's like,
I am now telling the computer.
Tell me, where are all the remaining
He goes,
tickets?
what would a computer do with a lifetime supply of chocolate?
Yeah, he's like,
I'm now telling the computer what it can do with a
Yeah.
lifetime supply of chocolate.
or even there's that one where they're auctioning off the last box in UK or whatever, and you see that lady who's got it, and her freaking husband has been kidnapped,
Yeah.
and they're like, the ransom note is all we want is your box of chocolates, and she's
she
like,
goes, how long do I have to think this over? Yeah.
A case of bars or a life?
Yeah.
What's better?
I also, another bro moment for me was whenever we get introduced to Augustus Gloop, he's sitting there eating, and she goes, the newscaster's like, what were your thoughts whenever you pulled out that golden ticket? And he goes, hungry. And then like the same thing could be said whenever he pulls over, like they pan over to the dad and they go over to him for comment.
Doesn't he bite
and
it
he
off?
eats the mic off, like he eats the top of
Is
the mic.
that what it was?
Yeah, they put
That's what I thought
they
he
put
bit
the mic
off.
to his face for the comment, and he goes,
He-
oh, and eats it.
Dude,
It's
the
funny.
first time they opened, Grandpa Joe and Charlie opened a chocolate bar in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought I was committing a crime
Yeah.
because they're like,
They're like, be quiet. No, you do.
and then like, no.
Yeah,
it's
Grandpa
ev-
Joe's a bad influence, dude.
Very bad
He's
influence.
he's trying to persuade Charlie into a life of crime.
Mm.
Like he even's like whenever he brings the bread, the mom is like, "Where did you get this? How did you get
like,
this?"
it doesn't matter.
Thinking he stole it, right? And then the grandpa's like, "It doesn't matter how he got it. It just matters that he did." You
Yeah.
know, and it's like he's completely okay with condoning stealing and all this
He's
stuff
hungry,
and,
tired
and
of
lying
cabbage
to
soup.
people, like all this stuff. I laugh super hard at the part whenever it's his birthday. It's Charlie's birthday. He gets the scarf, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Grandpa Joe and George, scrounge together some change to get him a Wonka chocolate, right? And so, he pulls it out of his bed and gives it over to him. He starts opening it. He's like,
Fooled
"Listen,"
you, didn't
he's
I?
like, "That dude,
Why?
it's so funny to me. Like, why does Charlie think like fooling them is gonna be funny? And then like
it's not.
like only for them to like throw a pity party for himself,
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
He opens it up and is like, Grandpa's sitting there going like, "Yeah, open it up. I want to see that golden ticket. Let's open it."
I got
He turns around, opens it, and goes, "I got it!" And everyone's like, "Oh, you did turn around, let me see it." And he goes, "Fooled you, didn't I?" Like, it just immediately like kills the mood, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie." And like he just starts throwing this pity party for himself where he goes like, "I'm never gonna get it, aren't I? Like, I want it so bad." It came out of nowhere for me, and I laughed at it, just him being like, "Fooled you, didn't
Yeah.
I? Better feel bad for me." Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to talk about Slugworth. I don't even consider him a human. I consider
How-
him.
no,
he's a
he's
lizard
not
person.
human. Because how does he show up wherever
That's-
the tickets are?
That's what I'm
And-
saying.
And he's so like,
He's Michael the Archangel. He's just omnipotent.
I
He can
called
be
him.
anywhere.
He's the entity.
Yeah.
Like, he is there
Yeah.
at every single continent, every
Yeah.
single country. He is there to freaking.
Well, what about this for theory? Because we end up finding out at the end of the film that he is actually employed by
Yes.
Mr. Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
Did Mr. Wonka preemptively know
Choose.
where these golden tickets were
Yeah.
going to go and who were going to get them?
It's the only way.
Did he predestine it?
It's the only way Slugworth could be there.
Yeah, it's the only way that he could be there to talk to these kids
or it's the
every
only
single
way.
time.
The only way maybe Wonka would be like, okay, I'm sending one here now,
Yeah,
and be like, Slugworth, go here.
yeah,
That's the only thing I can think of too.
yeah.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
know.
Yeah, there's a lot of a big idea here about fate
Yeah.
and destiny and all
Yeah.
that.
What about Mike TV talking about how he was going to get a Colt 45 and then the dad saying, "You're not going to get one
to.
until you're 12." That's insane.
Different time.
I was also
Die.
I was also reading too that apparently the dad that said that line, just that one line, had that one line for the film and then he's not in it ever again. It took him 40 takes to say that. Not until you're 12, son.
Why?
I don't know. It took 40 takes for him to do it.
What the hell? That
I was
reminds me-
reading that and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
That
Yeah.
reminds me of those baked in a buttery flaky crust. But they just can't say
Yeah.
it. It's the easiest line possible, and they just can't say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's what the guy was doing. He's just having a stroke.
Yeah. Another one for me, the coat hangers.
The hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always loved that. Like whenever they're going up to put their, it's just like it's already starting off that like this is gonna be like
Weird.
it's gonna be weird. There's gonna be like off the wall things that are happening here, right? And like whenever you go to put your coat hanger on a rack, you can even see like some of the hands like shaking. They're shaking. And
you see one of the hands grab the hat.
yeah, it's
grab
the
a
grandpa. You know, he just grabs it off his head and he kind of is like, you know, it's super funny. And the last one for me is the exploding candy that Mike TV eats.
Yeah.
And
he blows them back.
Yeah, freaking Willy Wonka tells everyone, don't touch anything, don't eat anything here. And what does Mike TV do? He breaks off a piece of that candy and eats it. And it's exploding candy for your enemies. It freaking explodes in his mouth and knocks him back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's a bro moment for me because Willy Wonka just truly doesn't care about these kids, and it's just like, yeah, if they die, they die. Like,
Who cares?
They signed the contract. Not my fault.
Yeah, that contract.
Yeah,
was
it granted
another-
me protection.
That contract was a bro moment for sure.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about the teacher being a savage and roasting
roasting Charlie
for
being like,
only getting
if
2
you told,
chocolates.
Yeah, and also being like, if you told me how to do this, then you would be the teacher and I would be the student, and that's not the case, is it? You know, like all that stuff.
I don't know how they learned from that guy.
No.
Yeah,
He even says like, "You only got 2. I can't do the math on that."
Yeah.
Let's just think about it as 200.
yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
200. That's 150 and half over. And I'm like, dude, how did they learn from this fool?
Yeah, seriously. That's it for bro moments for me, though,
Yeah.
unless you guys got any others.
As I scroll through here, I don't think I have any other ones.
Oh, I got one. Just coming to my mind. What about Charlie and Grandpa Joe going into Willy Wonka's office and Grandpa Joe demanding that Charlie get his lifetime supply of chocolate? And
You're a crook.
yeah, and like he's sitting there, Grandpa Joe is demanding that he gets the lifetime supply of chocolate. Willy Wonka turns around and is like, "You guys stole. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You convinced Charlie to steal from me. You stole product. You floated all the way up to the top of this thing. It's got to be it. Gene Wilder in this scene is so iconic to me, where he's like,
He's unhinged.
"You stole fizzy lifting drinks. The metal ceiling has to be washed. It has to be sanitized. You get nothing. You lose.
Yeah.
Good day, sir." Like, that is so iconic to me. And he's just going off on Grandpa Joe. And he goes like, "You stole from me. You get nothing."
Yeah.
In the contract, it says yada, 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 all this stuff, right? And Grandpa Joe has the nerve to look at him and go, "You're a crook." Like, even though I stole from you, I am not going to acknowledge that I did wrong before that. You're a crook. You didn't hold up to the end of the bargain. We're leaving here, and I'm gonna tell everybody that you're a crook, right? And Charlie, you know, being the only good kid here, being the only good person, goes up, gives Mr. Wonka back his everlasting gobstopper, and that's like the test, right?
Yeah.
To see, like, you know, if that is the measurement of a good kid, right? To give back.
He says like
something.
one good deed is a something.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And that's when we, you know, find out that Mr. Slugworth was actually employed by Mr. Wonka, and that not only is the prize the limited supply of chocolate, but it's also you get to run the factory. Now you are going to be the head of Wonka,
Yeah.
which, what a terrible gift.
So much stress.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, guess what? You're a kid. Now you're going to take on running an entire company." And guess what? Your family gets to come and live here in the factory, like as like sweatshop slaves, like the way that the Oompa Loompas do.
Yeah, that's wild.
But I guess they got a place to live and unlimited food.
Better house for sure.
They got a better
Only
house.
chocolate.
Yeah, you get to live on candy.
Yeah, that's it.
So have fun just having constant stomach aches, and your entire life being run by like, "How are we gonna get these shipments out? They need to go out in 2 weeks." Like, this Oompa Loompa was insubordinate. How are we gonna deal with them?
Even death, like one Oompa Loompa slipped into the chocolate fountain
And died. We gotta fish them out now.
put him to the furnace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
Super funny. Any other bro moments here?
No, that's it.
All right, then let's move into facts with the bros.
Yeah, the budget for this movie, it's gonna be kind of a flop because this movie was produced before like DVDs and stuff like that. So to make this movie, it took about $3 million to make this movie. Opening day, it made opening weekend, excuse me, it made $526,000.
Okay.
Gross for U.S. and Canada was $573.3 thousand, and gross worldwide is $622.8 thousand.
Jeez.
So definitely didn't. It's a
Very poor performance in the box
yeah,
office.
it's a box office flop.
Yeah, but I was seeing actually that whenever the 80s came around and home video became a very popular thing, as well as rental, being able to rent videos.
Pick up speed.
This movie picked up a lot of speed and gained a lot of popularity around that time. And if I'm not mistaken, kind of became the cultural classic that it is today because of that. And whatever it didn't make up in the box office, it ended up making back in home video sales and movie rentals and stuff like that. Another thing that I saw here, which I thought was pretty wild, this movie was an Oscar nominee for Best Music, Scoring Adaptation, and Original Song Score.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it win any of them?
No, it was just the nominee,
Interesting.
unfortunately.
Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. And if you couldn't tell as well, the movie was also based on a book called
Roald Dahl.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl, which we've done another one of his movies,
Mr.
being
Fox.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I wonder how different the book is from the movie. I want to go back and see where they got their inspiration from.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure.
Yeah. I had read that the chocolate river was made of 150,000 gallons of water, real chocolate, and cream. Listen to this. The filmmakers had to change the formula for the chocolate river because the concoction they used turned blood red. Because of the
That would
cream,
have been a different story.
the mixture began to spoil.
Oh,
And
because
by
the
the-
cream?
Yeah, and by the end of the filming, it smelled terrible.
That's tough. That's tough.
That's toxic, dude.
Imagine going into set and it just smells like rotten milk.
Ugh.
The dude who plays Augustus Gloop described it as dirty, stinky water.
That's tough.
Did you know that out of the 10 cast members who played Oompa Loompas, one of them was a female?
I
Did not know that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
In regards to filming the movie being a little bit of a task, right, and like having to endure some stuff during that whole Wonka wash car scene, the foam that gets like splurted out over and over and over again onto all the kids. It was compiled of basic fire extinguisher foam, right? But what was unknown to the cast and crew was that foam itself was a potent skin irritant. So after shooting the scene, the actors and actresses were left like in considerable discomfort when their skin started puffing up. And it required like several days to receive medical treatment and recovery because
Damn, the 70s were different, dude.
I'd even read too something about that scene where they're making the little stick of gum and you see the bees in that little dome.
Yeah.
The kid that plays Mike TV, apparently those were wasps in there. And he the kid that played Mike TV let them out and he got stung in the face because of it. And like they had to like wrangle up all of the wasps again and try to get them back in there.
What the hell?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
That is so random.
Yeah. Another thing in regards to the making of the film, I'd always wondered why, whenever Willy Wonka walks out with the limp, I always wondered like why does he do that?
Yeah,
right?
just completely random.
And that's Gene Wilder's addition to the script actually,
Oh.
and it was actually a condition of the film that he said if it wasn't included he wouldn't be Willy Wonka.
Really, that one little limp and
Right.
somersault?
And he'd said that after he'd read the script, he would only take the role under that condition, that he would be allowed to limp and then suddenly somersault into the scene when he first meets the kids. And whenever he talked to the director, Mel Stuart, about it, Wilder just had to say that from that time on, no one will know if I'm lying or telling the truth. They'll never know if I'm ever telling the truth if I walk out with a limp and then somersault. And,
Oh, true.
you know, they'll never be able to differentiate between what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the director looked at him and said, if I say no, you won't do the picture? To which Gene Wilder said, I'm afraid that's the truth. And they went with it, and now we have what we have today.
Wow, I love that.
Did you know that Gene Wilder's Wonka costume sold for almost $74,000 in 2012?
Jeez.
It's crazy.
A suit for $74,000.
Yeah, that's wild.
People
That's
got
too much.
money. Too
That's
much
wild.
money.
I also saw that apparently a lot of the reactions from actors and actresses in some scenes are actually spontaneous. They're spontaneous. And like there's a couple of scenes where specifically the limping scene whenever he somersaults out, apparently everyone in that scene, their reaction is genuine, and they thought that like Gene Wilder actually injured his leg, but they couldn't stop filming, so he had to walk out with a limp. And then whenever he does the somersault, like apparently that was everyone's genuine reaction, and the director didn't tell them that that was going to happen to capture the actual like,
That's
type
cool.
thing.
That is really cool.
Another one being whenever the children first enter the chocolate room and see the candy gardens, they never saw the set before. So whenever they walked
they were
in
like,
and saw the set for the first time, their reaction is genuine. They're actually seeing this for the first time. Even the tunnel scene. The director didn't tell them that was going to happen. And I guess the kid that played Charlie, Peter Ostrom, the kid that played Augustus Gloop, Jack Albertson, and the girl that played Violet, Denise Nickerson, they were all apparently terrified.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
And they thought that Gene Wilder had gone into like a psychotic meltdown during the filming of the scene. And the last one I saw here was in the scene whenever Wonka is screaming at Charlie and Grandpa Joe. Their reactions were real, and that the director and Gene Wilder apparently didn't tell them that they were going to do that. And Wilder, I guess, he really wanted to tell Charlie that he was going to do that beforehand, but the director suggested against it because he wanted to have that genuine surprise come over him. And I also was seeing too that I guess this is really wholesome actually, but Gene Wilder and Peter Ostrom, the kid who played Charlie, would actually like hang out often.
Really?
Yeah, and they would go to dinner after set, all like after filming every time, and very fittingly after they would have a dinner, they would eat chocolate for dessert with one another. And they become like actually really good friends with one another because of the movie. I thought it was really sweet. And there was actually another fact I saw in regards to Gene Wilder and Peter. He stopped being Peter Ostrom stopped being an actor.
Really?
And this was the only movie he ever acted in. Wow. And whenever Gene Wilder passed away in 2016, you can go find Peter Ostrom's social media profiles, and he's now a veterinarian. And in his social media profiles, Gene Wilder passed away on August 29th, 2016. And on Peter Ostrom's social media profiles, in his bio, you'll see former child actor, veterinarian, and then it says inherited a chocolate factory on August 29th, 2016.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's wholesome.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's more than just a work relationship. They actually care about each other.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had seen some Gene Wilder's thoughts on the new release of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I was interested because he said that he really enjoyed Johnny Depp's performance as Willy Wonka, but he did not like the film. And he goes on to say that he's not a fan of Tim Burton, and he kind of always feels insulted when his films are remade. Which I thought was really interesting because even he was like, this sucks.
That's pretty funny.
It's not good.
Another one for me, we talked specifically about the flour that Willy Wonka drinks.
Yes, I have this one too.
Apparently it's made out of wax. And so anytime
I know, I figured it'd be like a candy paper or something where you could just make 1,000 of them and just do takes as long as you need them.
Yeah, but it was wax. And anytime Gene Wilder would eat it and take a bite, he'd have to sit there and chew on it before he'd spit it out and like have to get the taste out of his mouth, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And the last one I have here, actually, I did not know this, but the film was actually shot in Munich, Germany, because apparently it was significantly cheaper to film there than the United States. And it also had that like storybook quality that Mel Stuart was looking for. And apparently he also liked the unfamiliarity of the locations, and he said that he wanted the film to be somewhere that couldn't really be identified at any place or time, because he wanted it to eventually feel timeless.
Oh yeah, I believe that he achieves that.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But that's about it for the facts for me.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right. Well, if that's it for the facts, then let's move to what didn't work.
What do you got, man? It's not a perfect movie.
No, definitely not. I have to
don't
say,
really know how to put my.
this is personal preference. I do not like the mom's song to Charlie. Whenever he goes to her place of work where she works like late at night sometimes, just to like guilt her, and make her feel guilty. And it's like, third golden ticket was found today. Just thought you'd want to know that, you know. and
buy me more.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm sitting here working, man. I'm trying to do stuff. Which actually, it never really dawned on me that she was doing laundry. For some reason, as a kid, I always thought she was like making some soup.
It looks like it the way she's like
ladling
got that big,
it around. Yeah. But yeah, her song just cheer up, Charlie. I don't like it.
Okay.
I could skip it. Anytime I watch this movie, it would have no effect on the story for me whatsoever. I feel like it could be taken out.
Fair.
Like whatsoever.
Fair. Yeah. I honestly, could care less about it too.
Yeah. I also have to say too, I remember the scenes inside the factory being so much longer than they actually
not
are.
long at all. When you think about the composition of the movie, it's literally half of before you get there, and then the last half is at the factory. And getting to the actual chocolate room is like 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And when I think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I think of
that
room.
Yeah.
Only to realize how short it was kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, seriously. And I think the movie has a little bit of like a pacing issue in that regard, that like it takes so long to actually set up the characters and the, you know, for us to understand that Charlie really, really wants this trip to the factory, right, and all this stuff. And I think honestly, if the movie was longer, if they extended our stay at the factory or something like that, then it would warrant that strong building half of the movie.
Yeah.
But because we spend so little time at the factory, it feels like, I don't know, it just kind of feels like the movie gets rushed at the end.
A little bit.
You know, where they're trying to like get you out of the factory as soon as possible.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate too. I also think that it gets a little too wild just for my taste, and to really genuinely connect with Willy Wonka. I think he's just a little too outlandish, in my opinion. Like, there's moments where he just is speaking German and speaking French, and you're just sitting there like, and sometimes I feel like the adults sitting there like, I can't take it anymore. Like, what the hell's happening here? And I just think, you know, when you speak on the whole rushed part of the factory, and you don't even really get what Wonka at his normal, you get him at his like most zany and outlandish, it kind of makes you feel like he's less human than he really is. And he's more just like this, I gotta get through this and I gotta do all this and I'm weird. Ooh, you know, it feels a little I don't know, less genuine of a person, you know. And I don't really buy the whole like, you're the greatest kid ever, you're gonna get my whole factory. I'm like, you don't even know the guy. You know, it's so that's that plot detail is so thin that to me it's just like, he's so random, here's a factory, random, you know, for just random's sake. And it's just less, I understand it, that's what the movie really is, but it's just less compelling for me to be like, oh, it's more heartfelt, you know. It's more of just like, ha!
I mean, this isn't a necessarily like strike against the movie for me, but Grandpa Joe's trash.
You just don't like him?
He like I remember like going back to the movie and people just being like, yeah, he sucks, dude. Like, you know, he hadn't been out of the bed in 20 years, and then the moment he's able to get out, get the chance to go to a factory, he starts dancing. Like, you know, I don't know. It could have been better written, like for him to like maybe have a reason why he couldn't work or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's funny looking at it now. But
I wanted more of the Oompa Loompas.
Oh yeah,
I really like them. I wanted. I know they do it a little bit in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They try to give it a little bit more lore behind their Loomp Land and all that. But I like these ones, and I love their outfit.
Yeah, me too.
And I wanted to see more of like what they do, how, you know, like more.
Where do they go?
Yeah, what do they? Do they eat? Do they sleep?
Yeah.
How do they communicate? Because I don't know. I wanted to see a little bit more of that. Maybe it would help the pacing too, of kind of putting that in between. rather than them just being there cleaning up the dead bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about it for what didn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really fault it too much. It's more of a very light movie.
Yeah, definitely. All right. If that's it for what didn't work, what did work?
The soundtrack immediately.
Yes, incredible songs.
Yeah, and you know that they're incredible when they continue throughout the series. You know,
Yeah.
and they continue. Like even Wonka 2023 brings the world of pure imagination back. It's because it's just so iconic.
Yeah, it is.
And it when you hear it, you're like, it's almost like you're in a dream state when you hear it. You
Yeah.
know, it's like just this floaty,
Yeah.
real.
It encapsulates that feeling of imagination.
Yeah.
You know, being able to like think of anything, right? And that song feels like that.
It does.
You know?
It definitely
Yeah,
does.
that childlike wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to say, I enjoy the writing. I think that there is some incredibly witty comedy that comes through
especially
here.
from Gene Wilder.
Yeah, and it was things that I never really noticed as a kid that I now notice as an adult
Yeah.
that I think were super funny. And Gene Wilder is just awesome in this. I think he's the perfect choice
Oh, yeah.
for Willy Wonka. And excuse me, he's become like again, like he's solidified himself in pop culture to where like you show somebody a picture of him and they're gonna be like, either that's Willy Wonka or that's the guy from Blazing Saddles or that's the guy from Young Frankenstein. You know, like he has just solidified himself as an incredible actor and not only that but a pop culture icon.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. I also think the movie is just super fun.
Yeah,
Like-
it's super entertaining.
Yeah, it's something you can put on. It's an hour 40. It's not a hard watch. And you can just sit there and just enjoy it and be entertained.
Yeah.
And, I also have to say too, like, I really enjoy the set design.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Like-
That's really what kept me engaged throughout the whole thing is the set.
Yeah.
The factory itself is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really they make
It
the
is-
movie so interesting.
It is. It's
To visually to look at.
Yeah.
And it's so visually appealing and there's something to look at every single time
mm-hmm.
to be enamored with.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I watched it and I just kept thinking like, man, they don't make movies like this anymore really.
No.
Like it's you think about like a movie like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it's primarily CGI.
It is. Yeah. When you,
You
see
know?
the lake of chocolate, it's
Yeah.
all.
You know, there's it just feels like there's not a lot of effort in it, like or there's not a motivation to go back and to like be like, okay, we want a chocolate river, we're gonna pour 150,000 gallons of water, chocolate, and cream into this thing, and if it stinks after a week or something like that, we're just gonna have to put up with it because that's our chocolate river. You know?
To
Yeah.
blood red.
Yeah.
Yeah, the set really does it for me here.
Yeah. Anything else that does work?
No, I mean, I think the characters are actually executed pretty well.
Mm.
Child actors did a great job.
Yeah.
They all have that role that they play, and you know, if they're played to be greedy and annoying, hey, I hate them.
Yeah, they did their job.
They did their job.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think they all have their own unique character. Augustus Gloop being the glutton kind of
Yeah.
kid, and
Yeah.
again, they bring their comedy with their physicality, and it's
Mhm.
all good. I enjoyed the acting here.
I agree. All right, if that's it for what did work, then who wins this movie?
Come on.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder, through and
Yeah.
through. It's really hard to talk about this movie without talking about him and his performance.
I agree. Any themes here? I feel like the most obvious one is you reap what you sow.
Reap what you sow.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're a good person, good things will happen to you.
Yeah.
If you're a bad person, if you act like a spoiled brat, you got bad things coming to you.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, that's what he says. He does say a good word, or he says a good deed through a weary world, or something like that. Or
yeah, and he goes, and so a good deed spreads
Yeah.
through a weary world.
Exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of it off my head.
but that's what he's talking about, like
Yeah.
of being sacrificial, being selfless.
yeah, being a light in the dark.
Is something to strive for.
Right.
And if you do, even though you're surrounded by people who are greedy, who are selfish,
Yeah.
you still hold true to your integrity and who you are as a person, you will be
You'll
rewarded.
be rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think
Exactly.
is cool. And I think it does have something to say with too of having a priority of creativity.
Mm.
There's
Mhm.
a importance here about being creative, trying things, and not letting the world kind of kick you down.
Mm.
So
All right. If that's it for the themes, what are we going to rate this movie?
I'm interested to hear. What have you got?
I think it's a 7.
A 7?
Yeah.
I'm agree. A 7.
Yeah. I think it's a good movie. It's super fun to watch. I'm curious to see what Abe thinks, but I think he's having a couple issues.
Yeah.
So
He's not going to be back.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. So
I'm giving it a 10 for him. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
yeah. So if anything, we'll have to get back next episode to hear what he thinks.
Of the 3, this one is my favorite.
Oh, definitely.
I'm going to immediately say that of the 3,
I haven't even seen Wonka, and I'll say that this.
yeah, this one is definitely my favorite, and I've watched them all relatively recently too. So
Okay.
I got to just say that out the gate.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's the episode for
That's
you
it.
guys. So if you stuck all the way to the end, we appreciate you. If you are watching on YouTube, leave us a like, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you're notified whenever we upload. We are back to our regularly scheduled program. We're going to be uploading weekly as per usual, unless something changes. And as far as I'm aware, looking at the foreseeable future, it doesn't look like it will.
I
So,
don't think so.
yeah, with that being said, if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Leave us a like or a dislike if you want. Doesn't matter. We're open to taking criticism as well as through the comments. So if you need it, then if you want to let us know, let us know. It helps out. We want to make the pod as best as it can possibly be. So if that means that it comes from you guys through a YouTube comment or through a rate and review if you're listening on the audio platforms like Apple, Spotify, Google, etc., then please do it. Let us know what you're thinking. If you don't want to reach out to us on such a public platform, then you can email us in our episode descriptions. We've got our email address listed as well as our Letterboxd accounts, our Instagram where we post stills, and we also get your guys' comments there as well to let you guys know that an episode has been posted and all that stuff. If you're wanting to follow that, click into the episode descriptions and find those methods of contact there. But as always, we're going to reveal the next pick for next week, which would be Abraham. And luckily, we got it a little scheduled beforehand. So Abraham's pick is going to be Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
And
this one came out like in the 2010s.
Yeah, I think it's
2016,
like 2016,
2017, something like that.
Yeah, and
Starring yours truly, Andrew Garfield,
Exactly.
a.k.a. The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep, and it's based on a true story, I believe, about a medic in World War II that received the Medal of Honor after going into like an active war zone to save his comrades and come back and try and save them as many
Unwilling
people
to
as possible.
use a rifle.
Right.
So there's going to be some conflicting ideas here.
Yeah.
I'm interested to... I've seen it once. I remember going to the movies, and for some reason, I don't know if it was what I ate that day or if it was just my mental state, but I left that movie genuinely, like, queasy at all of the death that was happening. And, like, I don't know, I just felt like the loss of life there just really spoke to me in a way that I don't know, I felt like I couldn't really handle it at the time.
Yeah.
And it was the first war movie that genuinely made me feel like there's so much like just death and war and like chaos that I just felt like this is humanity right here. Like this is the worst of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only ever seen it once too, and I can't remember a ton of it. So I'm excited to return back to it and give my thoughts on it.
Me too.
It's currently streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
So if you have Netflix, check out Hacksaw Ridge, and then tune in next week to hear what we have to say about that film. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.